The following vodcast contains opinions from paid professionals. The information provided in this vodcast is general in nature and not advice. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
Welcome to another episode of So We Think as we wrap up Golden Slipper Weekend. Gotta say, Ben, one of my favourite ever days on a racetrack just been. Incredible winners, incredible stories all throughout the card. And now we edge closer towards the championships with this meeting in between at Rosehill Gardens featuring the Tancred and the Vinery for the 3-year-old fillies in the Australian Cup in Melbourne.
Yeah, it's that time of year where grand finals disappear, but there's more on the horizon, which is lovely. I had the luxury of sitting and watching Slipper Day from the pub, and I had a great time. But I also caught up on a lot of the coverage from Sky and that you guys had on 7. I watched a few of the interviews that you did, and I don't remember many days where there were so many good interviews, a reflection of you and the talent, but the results, I guess, number one.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the results rolled in that were the good stories. Out of all of the interviews, early in the day there was a gem for nearly everyone, but of all the interviews, what was the highlight?
You're speaking about Rebecca Dunn with the 3 horses in training, winning the Midway with Inferencia first up at a big quote. And, she was incredible. I love just the raw emotion of a chat like that. But one of my favourite people to interview on race day, whether it be pre-race or post after a big victory, is Tommy Berry, because he wears his heart on his sleeve. And winning on board winning on board Gringotts on the weekend. That was his first Group 1 in 2.5 years since his disqualification, since the fall where he broke his neck only 7 weeks ago. But I think Tommy is such a generous media performer. That's just the way he is. Yeah. But always like chatting to Tom. You're so right, though. The spread of results on Saturday, I thought was the perfect mix because you had the top dogs, the big end of town, like your Via Sestino, who is Australia's greatest horse at the moment, winning another Group 1, and then broadsiding, really cementing his spot as the 3-year-old colt of a generation with his 4th Group 1 victory. So the top-end players. But then you had Nathan Doyle and Ash Morgan with Private Harry, a colt on the up, winning their first Group 1.
Some hard luck stories thrown in.
Totally.
Amazing finishes. I mean, Aliana, I feel for Start over, but Denise copped another one at the midweeks.
I know.
Beaten by a pimple, although it's tough to compare the two, Group 1 alongside broadsiding and that. But, yeah, so they haven't had the greatest of trots, but they have had a good run over the years. I absolutely loved it. Agree, the Tommy interview was a highlight. I had a good laugh when he said, I was good until I saw her, and just pointed out Shani, who was in a mess, and understandably so. They've been through a lot, and it was great to see. You mentioned Buckaroo, albeit by accident. He's the horse I want to follow out. Yeah, apologies,
just the same colours.
He's the horse I want to follow out of the meeting.
Yeah.
He was so far back, never really got clear air, warmed up, and this sounds ridiculous, but I think even 6 months on, people have forgotten how good he was in the spring.
Well, that's the thing. So last Storm, we're going, where's this horse at? And then last spring, he wins a number of Group 1s. He was awesome, particularly down in Melbourne. He's got a big... And we knew that first up into his preparation. He needs one to get going. But he is definitely one to follow into the championships. And you mentioned Aliana there. She's been pipped in 2 Group 1s now. And we'll touch on it a little bit later, because whether she goes Oaks or Derby is going to be not entirely, but pretty dependent on the results of one filly this weekend, because they will try to dodge Treasure the Moment if she is a dominant winner on the weekend in the Vinery.
And they've also got like a Lucy too, the stable now, don't they? So they can kind of split them and try and avoid Treasure the Moment. You'd say the Derby's the $1.30 favourite for Aliana at the moment, wouldn't you?
Hearing from Matt Laurie, I think they want to keep Treasure the Moment to fillies grade, which is the easy kill.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say that. And you know what? We haven't even touched on the slipper.
Yeah.
And we gave Mahuna a good push on the show, so I hope you people got on.
Exactly. So, fantastic story. And it's ridiculous the amount of slippers that he's now been involved in, Michael. I loved those pictures. I loved Sophie's, we've won the slipper, we've won the slip,
And she was still doing that with me at midnight that night.
Well, I'm sure. Maybe beyond midnight. But when I chat to her on a Wednesday, we talk about interviews. Like, quite often you have to say afterwards, Soph, speak up. she speaks really well, but she's very quietly spoken. She doesn't want it, to scare or intimidate or anybody. She just sort of, to see her explode with the excitement on Saturday, and for Michael to reference the team over and over again, and then when she got interviewed, she referenced the team over and over again. You just get the impression that they're nice and tight knit, happy with what they're doing, and they're getting the rewards, which is great.
Yeah, it's good to see, and I think a lot of stables, you talk about what makes a happy horse, and I think this might not be a major part of it, but I definitely believe it is. But when a team is clicking and everyone knows their role and there's no rushing and hustle and bustle and changing and chopping, I think a horse can feel that in a way. And that environment that all of those horses, I mean, his results are speaking for themselves at the moment. Another winner at the midweek yesterday with Seascape. It's just a good place to be. Yes, stressful at times. And I've seen him early on a morning at track work when things are a little stressy, but the team has done a great job there, so congratulations to all involved.
Do you think they got a bonus?
Oh, I would hope so.
Yeah, I'd hope.
I think
that wasn't what I asked.
I think the credit card, came out.
Got a good run?
Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Michael.
Yeah. Yes, you did some damage, did you? With even luck, this is a stupid game to play, but with even luck, who was the best horse in the slipper? The winner? Or did you think Tempted should have won? That seems to be a common assessment. Even Rivellino was a touch unlucky.
I mean, he just got too far back.
Yeah.
That was... People can say, yes, he was unlucky. Well, yes, he was, but he got too far back, so that's just the way it is.
He did, but the decision to go out was a mistake in the end.
Yeah. I thought Tempted was brilliant. Yes, she found a few dead ends, and I thought Wadton was absolutely remarkable as well. It was fascinating that those two that had drawn inside Mahuna, just because of that wave of speed from the outside, they were forced to fall back the rail.
Yeah.
And that was maybe it definitely helped them. We know that the rail was hot on Saturday, but getting that far back and making those surging runs through the field, ducking and weaving, is hard because you need the breaks at the right time. You need all the luck in the world to go your way. But, I mean, you look at the overhead, the winner was pretty good to take the gaps that she took. She was very good to take those gaps. And then when she saw the colt to her left, she went again.
She went again. Yeah, she did.
So I'm not a big fan of, should have won, unless it's,
but that's what form is.
I know, but I do think
it doesn't apply to her, but we're trying to find winners of upcoming races. Rivellino looks as though 14 or a mile would suit down to the ground.
Yeah.
Is that the end of our sort of recap?
Well, I'm just going to let everyone know what's coming up on today's show. Yep. We're going to have a chat to Aussie Tom Marquand. Of course, he's been here on many an occasion for an autumn and a spring. He is back in town, ready to ride Dubai Honour in the Tancred Stakes, and we'll take you through all of the headline acts that we're looking forward to seeing over the course of the weekend, because even though it's the middle weekend of the carnival, it feels like. In terms of next Saturday is absolutely ginormous, and the Saturday that's just been has been huge too. There is still some nice horses to take a look at on Saturday.
Would you like to do top five?
Yes,
first,
we're going to open the mailbag up like we did last weekend.
Yes.
So last week we did ask, you asked, who's the best looking horse in Australia ever? Well, we could have gone worldwide.
The response was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Which now means we are going to regularly ask questions, but we also want questions to come our way.
Left field
so
ones, because the Weird and the Wonderful is probably better for us. Don't ask us who's going to win the Derby or the Oaks.
Yeah, boring.
Send us through something fun, and we'll tackle that on the show head on.
And then we can come at it with opinion, where we can't be proven wrong because it's our opinion. Yeah. Whereas if they ask us who's going to win and they don't win, well,
so with the viewer and listener feedback, have you now fully developed your top 5 best looking horses of all time?
Not overly, because I've got so many, but I have to. I mean, that's my job for this week, so I might as well get it right. I've got a few special mentions. So special mentions wise, Apache Cat's going to miss. I haven't included a grey.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
So I wanted some variety. I wanted variety. I wanted a blaze. I wanted, the dark of Lonhro, maybe a blonde somewhere. And so I've got a lot of variety, but I don't have a grey. And Gold Edition was the grey that I loved.
Okay.
People suggested Chautauqua.
I just loved. He was always so beautifully dappled. Like he was
But he also changed colours.
I know.
like
He was
so
like a chameleon.
So
Yeah, yeah,
drastically.
yeah.
So maybe that deserves some points. I didn't really factor that in. Subby won.
He was a beautiful horse, but plain grey.
Yeah, Ming Dynasty. That was a touch before my time. Americane got a few mentions. Sosi Bon.
Yeah.
I mean, from an attraction, some people are into biting, but Sosi Bon was an attractive
The nip to the left.
horse. Nip. Anyway, so aesthetically, I do have a concern, even though the overwhelming thing was that Lonhro is the most beautiful horse.
Is that right?
And you had said that, so credit where it's due. My concern there is that Lonhro looks a lot like Octagonal. And even Yellow, the brother. So do I clump
So
the
it's
whole
just
family in?
Oh, no. Well,
Or do I go with O, where it started, really?
I just think Lonhro was... He was
better looking than
I think
Octagonal.
so.
Okay. All right, well, let's go with... Well, I've given away number one, so that's bad.
Well done.
Let's go with... So I messaged Side Story. I
Yeah.
messaged James Cummings because I had a few... He's got so many things on at the moment, and I'm asking him who the best looking
Do you
horse
know
is.
what? I
that
think
he's
he
ever
would
trained.
enjoy the distraction.
Yeah, maybe. So I asked him who his best looking horse was, and he did typical James Cummings thing and replied back, well, who do you think it is? It's like a school teacher.
Smart.
And so, yeah, smart. So I said Cascadian or Hartnell, and he said you could combine them and they're not as attractive as Animo. Which I feel as though the resume plays
Ability
into his mind
has-
a little
okay,
bit, but
yeah.
he's right. I mean, Animo was a real looker. So if I throw that horse in, let's go with Cascadian for a Blaze, Miracles of Life.
Oh, God. Okay, here we go. Yep.
Well, blonde.
Yep, the blonde. Yep.
I've got a really abstract one. I'm going to throw Big A in for third.
Yep.
That means I'm leaving So You Think out.
That's... No. I don't feel comfortable with that.
Neither do I, especially when you hear number two. Number two is a horse called Golden Glamorous that Trent Edmonds had, who was hopeless. Maybe even a 9-start maiden.
No.
But you've got to see the pick. Everyone, you're about to see the pick. This is an attractive horse. And then I'm going to put Lonhro at number one. So hang on, let me just revise. This is Golden Glamorous.
I've never even heard of this horse.
Nor should you have.
Okay. 9-start
Chestnut
maiden.
filly with Tony Edmonds.
But you've already got one of these in there.
I know, but that doesn't mean they're not attractive. They're equally attractive.
Wowee.
Nope, not happy with it.
I would replace that thing with as gorgeous as...
So you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what? You just have a boring list of brown horses. Give me a spell.
Oh, there's a black horse in there too.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, at the very top too.
Hey, left field, just on James Cummings.
Mm.
You got a story about...
Oh, from the weekend.
Yeah, from the weekend.
Yeah,
So the Hong Kong Derby was run on...
So this is actually born 9 years ago, this yarn.
Right, this will be good.
2015. So, as you know, I like to watch every replay of everywhere, and I'm usually having a bet. And I backed one for Leon McDonald in his old black and white stripes, sort of famed by Rebel Raider. But he had one...
Crossbars.
He had one
Prison
debuting... Yeah, he had one debuting back in 2015 called Say Beau La Vie that I backed. And I forget who was on board. I actually do remember, but it was a slaughter job, and I don't want to incriminate anyone.
People can find this information.
It was probably one of the better things licked you would ever see. And I said to James we were somewhere random. Could have even been when I was blind at Scone. This is before I worked at Sky. And I said, there's a horse that I reckon is a coming stakes winner. Like she'll win it. She'll win a listed race in the spring. And he said, show me it. And he goes, where's this? I said, Morpherville. And he goes, I'll do you a deal.
Yeah.
If this horse wins a listed race in the Melbourne Spring, I will take you and 5 friends to the Director's Lounge for a free lunch and drinks on me. I said, okay, or. And he goes, no, or. I'm that confident
That's
it won't.
terrific
Confident
deal.
it won't happen. So very good deal for me.
Oh, yeah.
He was never going to pay up. But I said, yep, no worries. Now, as it turns out, she only had one run. This was earlier in the year, and she only had one run in the spring, never did it. Comes back in the autumn, picks up a listed
You're
race.
kidding!
Is 2 times group placed, ran third in a Schweppes Group 1 Oaks, Australasian Oaks, became a really good horse. So then every time he sees her on a pedigree page, he messages me going, have a look. You wouldn't believe it.
And
Have
now
a look
she's
at this.
thrown a Group 1 winner of the Hong Kong Derby.
As soon as so she obviously throws the winner there on Sunday, and he messaged me saying, "Did you watch Hong Kong?" I was like, "Mate, I saw Hong Kong." So I knew Cap Ferrar well from Sydney.
So he was a
really well.
$1.4 million purchase by Coolmore a few years ago, and he ran second in a spring champion, weirdly to Tom Kitten. So that would have. Imagine if he'd beaten
He got
him
rolled
that day.
by the progeny of Sebo Levi. The legend lives on. No one else talks about Sebo.
Life is beautiful.
Yeah, it's been a really good week because for the first time in my life, other people are talking about Sebo Levi other than like the two of us. But amazing performance. And Cap Ferrar, you referenced that. Well, the Rosehill Guineas, Cap Ferrar ran third, loomed up. Ryan Moore was on board. Probably one of the best starts that he had here in Australia. And the two that beat him were Riff Rocket, who unfortunately we won't see any more of. And who was the other one? Chaywolf, maybe? I might have that wrong. But they were 1-2 in that race. So like that form reads ridiculously well as well. So yeah, good result over in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And Craig Williams.
Yeah, correct. So, and like winning a Group 1 and the Hong Kong Derby nonetheless.
Do you feel like James owes me? Like it's a really good bet by me that...
Look, I mean, the parameters around the bet were pretty clear.
They were clear.
They were really clear.
Yeah,
but
he won the bet.
What a great topic of conversation to keep addressing in times of the
fun.
future when she continues to throw handy
fun.
winners. All right, well, let's welcome in our guest, and it is none other than Tom Marquand. He's back in a big way because he rides, I reckon, one of his favourite horses of all time in Dubai Honour on Saturday in the Tancred. Of course, he had a great autumn preparation 2 years ago. And last year, this horse travelled the world yet again, including going to Hong Kong and narrowly being beaten in the Hong Kong Vase. But Dubai Honour is back. And from all reports, and we'll get the word from the horse's mouth, he has settled...
Well, not the horse.
I mean, correct. Tom, this horse loves travelling, doesn't he? He just loves being on the road and seeing new things and being with his favourite people. How's he going?
Yeah, I think he's a horse after my own heart. I'm pretty similar to him. He feels great, thriving off travelling, and he felt fantastic the other morning. Looks great. Izzy's happy with him. Obviously, she knows him better than anyone else. She's been sort of globetrotting with him, and it's pretty much. If she says she's happy, we're all happy. But when I hopped on in the other morning, he felt particularly great. To be honest, yeah.
I feel as though, I don't know why, but I feel as though our traders have maybe forgotten how good Dubai Honour is. The last I saw, Via Sistina for the QE was around $1.75 and Dubai Honour was around $8. Tell me honestly, there can't be that much between them given what he's done in the country before, can there?
No, I don't think so. He's a very good horse. He obviously... He beat the best of the Australians at the time when he was last seen here. You know, he put Hamo behind him and the likes of, and he's done everything that he had to do, sort of that we've asked of him while he's been down here. So I think people forget over time. I suppose she's the new hot shot on the block. She's a very good mare, like undeniably a very good mare, and has obviously done well for coming down here too. So. It's definitely it's less of a margin than the prices suggest, albeit they probably have got them the right way around in the market at the moment, probably with a bit less of a deficit between them.
Yeah, there's such a big gap there. Maybe that closes after the weekend. It
may well. You mentioned Via Sistina, so this is a horse that obviously Europe know quite well, and they thought that they had a decent mark on her. She'd done a fair bit of racing over there, and horses can improve in Australia. But I saw on X the other day a sentiment that seemed to resonate with plenty over in Europe, that we have too many Group 1s, and that she won the Ranvet the other week, and that, you know, they said, the quote was that it was a Group 1 in name only, and she was good, but she wasn't great. Do you feel as though, do you agree with that sentiment that we have too many? And do you feel as though in Australia, because we have so many Group 1s, it maybe takes away the luster of of Group 1s in Europe that don't have anywhere near the same prize money, but they do have the history behind them.
Yeah, I think it's probably a fair statement that there are a lot of Group 1s here. Whether there's too many, I mean, who's to really say?
A jockey's never going to say there's too many Group 1s.
Not when he's winning them.
That's the thing. Exactly why. Yeah, there's only a select few people that can win them, and obviously James has utilised that to the best of his doing. So it's a hard one. Are there a lot of Group 1s? Yes. Does it dilute the Group 1s a little bit? Yes. Is that a big problem? Not really. From a prestige side, does it damage it a little bit? Yeah, for sure. Like you dilute any product, it makes the product less valuable. Like we all know that. We've done that, I think, with the day-to-day racing. We've got too much racing, and therefore now a lot of it becomes sort of quite like insignificant feeling. But there's reasons for it all, and people much more intelligent than me working out what is placed where in a calendar, and you guys are lucky in that regard.
That is true, but there are smart people who run this game worldwide. But I also think there could be a lot more done with people sitting together and going, all right, well, let's just actually go through this list. Let's go through the 76 Group 1s, and really, but that's not going to happen.
The Blue Book. The Blue Book might need some rewriting.
You have travelled the world extensively in your career, but I feel even more so over the last couple of years. How many countries have you ridden in the last, say, 24 months? And how has that journey been? Because you seem to love to be one of those jocks with the, have saddle, will travel mentality.
Yeah, for sure. It's something I've always really enjoyed doing. Like it was the reason I first came to Australia when I came when I was 17 the first year, and then missed a couple of years and came back again. And it was always something that I really focused on trying to do, not only for pleasure and enjoyment, but to sort of further my career, further my skills. But yeah, I've been definitely going harder at it for the last certainly year and a half, 2 years, like I say now. Like this year, the start of this year has been pretty mental. I think up until 2-3 weeks ago, I'd taken 23 flights this year. 16 of them were long haul.
For one, that have saddle will travel thing applies to people who will drive to Gunnedah for a ride. It doesn't apply to the.
Why not?
To this frequent flyer. Well, I mean, who has that opportunity? Like, I'm envious.
You do.
I am envious.
Yeah.
I've got so many questions about the flying. How many frequent flyers do you have?
Oh, a lot. Yeah, I think when I looked the other day, I had like nearly just over 700,000 miles between a couple of different accounts now. So
Isle window.
I could probably run a world tour.
Em loves a frequent flyer point. She's been known to skip between credit cards looking for some.
Yeah, and I got them, and they're going good at the moment, baby. They are going good.
And so Isle, that's a good one. No one's middle, so we can just go.
Yeah, your Isle or window.
Yeah, Isle or window.
Oh, actually, he doesn't have to choose because he's probably up the front, so he gets both.
I
just
sit next to the pilot.
As long as I've got a bed, I'll just get on a plane and pass out. To be honest with you, I'm unfussy where I'm sat in relation to a window or an aisle. But as long as it's got a lie flat bed on a longer flight than a couple of hours, I'm good.
That could be the best first world problem I've ever heard. I'm happy to fly anywhere in the plane as long as it has a bed. Well, only the front has beds, Tom.
Correct,
I don't know if you're aware of what happens out the back.
They've got to fly in between meetings, so I can understand that. And it's often not on... Sorry, Tom, it's often not on your dime, I'm guessing. Sometimes it's on other people's dime for you to fly at.
Which countries put on the best show? Like, you are welcomed with open arms. I'd like to think Australia welcomes you well, but there are some things that... the UAE sounds like they...
I feel like Japan are big on
Japan?
Tom and Holly, yeah.
Okay, so who's put on the best show for you so far?
I think Hong Kong is definitely head and shoulders above just with the organisation of the jockey club, and I mean you're not left wanting for anything or any help. We do absolutely love Japan. Like I say, it's the most amazing country. You know, we've been fortunate to have a great time there a few years in a row now. Even Bahrain, like I've ended up there quite a lot because my sponsor back home is the president of the racing club there, and like so many countries are just trying to level up and get on that world stage, and they're doing a really good job at it.
We saw a little bit of James and Katie over in Saudi. What was their feedback from Saudi?
I'll leave that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it had its
There's lots of money.
challenges.
Yeah. Oh, that's how I'd imagine. There's
Yeah.
lots of money, but it's a challenging place.
I think
to
it's
visit.
a challenging place to work as an expat if you're fly in, fly out, but also I'll let them discuss that at another time.
We'll get them on for one. I want to ask about that dynamic with your partner. So it is difficult when you're doing so much travel, particularly if you can't travel together. How do you guys maybe prioritise each other when you do get the opportunity?
Can I probably be guilty to say we don't really get much of a chance to prioritise each other. We're young. We've grown up since the age of like 13, 14 together, knowing what we're here for and what we're going to do and what we're willing to do. And I think you talk to anyone that's successful, and you need a partner that supports what you're doing and that can appreciate why you do what you do. And we're lucky. Obviously, it's tough at some points, but we're fully aware of how lucky we are at the moment, and just make hay while the sun shines. So if it lasts till we're 28, it lasts till we're 28. If it lasts till we're 45, it lasts till we're 45. We'll just keep our heads down gunning, and both of us can appreciate sort of the reasons why we do it, and we're just enjoying it together, to be honest with you.
If he sustains this travel, he'll be exhausted by 45. I want to throw that out
Says
there.
a man
As
who's
someone
edging
who's
towards that age.
venturing that
You're
way,
closer
mate,
to there than you are to
it's
his
exhausting getting up.
Yeah. Well, to conclude with, before we just address Dubai on once more, when Holly's not here and you're travelling, and particularly in Australia, I'm referencing that Sydney Jockeys Room and the trainers as well that you do a lot of riding for. You've got rides for a variety of different trainers this coming weekend. You've got Powers of Opal for John Sargent. You've got Gimme the Beat Boys for Michael Friedman. A couple of others in there as well. But who are the people here in Sydney that you can depend on, you can rely on, you like having fun with while you're here? But also, to that effect, who are the people that you avoid like the plague?
He's not going to
when
say
you're
who he avoids.
He might.
He's not. Tell us off air.
I've been so lucky. Genuinely, I've got a couple of really good mates down here now. Obviously, like I've been unfortunate. I had a couple of falls, and particularly the bad one 2 years ago. When things like that happen, you find out who's really there for you and who's just sort of jumped on the bus along the way. Trainers have been fantastic over the years. Like obviously, John was one of the biggest supporters when I first came. He was actually the reason I came up to Sydney instead of Melbourne, like I did when I was young. And I mean, like I say, it sort of proved one of the biggest pivotal moments in my career, sort of taking it to a new level. So everyone's been great.
Hey, good luck on the weekend.
That's life.
That's life.
Are we going to see Cherry Ripe Dubai Honour?
Are we ready to rock and roll first up?
Exactly.
Yeah, I genuinely, I think every year we've come over, we've sort of had them fairly ready to go. I don't think, maybe he's 95% ready, not completely screwed in, but he's certainly not left wanting for an awful lot, for sure.
All right.
One of the nice guys.
Yeah, Aussie. Well, do you even like that nickname? I feel as though we all do it, but
tell us to stop if you want us to.
I've stopped.
I sometimes.
No, I love it.
Oh, he loves it. Okay, good. That's right. I'll keep doing it then.
See, who started? Was it Aussie Kim Clijsters?
Oh, yeah.
When she was with Leighton.
Back when she was with Lele.
She was the first one we just hijacked.
Yeah, Aussie Kim, yeah.
And now we have an Aussie Tom.
That might even be before Tom's time.
I am old. We've been through that already.
I know.
Thanks, Tom. Good luck, not just this weekend, but obviously throughout the Autumn Carnival. We've really appreciated having you on and can't wait to see you on track.
Not at all. Thanks for having me on.
Tom Marquand there, and yes, he will be here. I think he's got a couple of other trips to maybe Dubai over the next little while as well, but basing himself here for a period of time, as he does each and every carnival. And that Tancred Stakes, well, it is the headline act of the weekend because you've got Dubai Honour, who's been here and conquered all before him, and then Vauban, who I think we were pretty easy to dismiss before his first up run, but he was elite. And now that he gets over a more suitable trip and hopefully, you know, the antics pre-race, they're not going to be amended. But
a cool day would help.
A cool day may help his cause.
Has he raced in Australia when it hasn't been 56 degrees?
Do not think so.
No, neither do I.
One of the things I'm most looking forward to over the course of the weekend, other than the Tancred, is a filly who will start a very short-priced favourite in the Vinery Stud Stakes. Tell me all about Treasure of the Moment.
Well, we threw out the question a few weeks ago, is she the best filly in the country? And Lady Shenandoah and Autumn Glow have probably put up their hands or hooves and said, actually, maybe I am. I think she is. She showed ridiculous versatility, claiming an Oaks, dropping back off the back of a break to a shorter trip, spanking them in Melbourne, comes here. You know, she is all bar unbeaten, only the one aberration thrown in there. And if she is going to be vulnerable, my concern is that this would be the week. I'm not saying she is vulnerable. I'm saying wet track where he's openly come out and said,
we don't know.
I'm not worried, but we don't know.
Yeah.
Like that, when I'm looking at when I see $1.60,
I need everything in check.
Everything needs to be tick, 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 tick. That is one big question mark that's there. And you also know they're priming for more than likely an Oaks. The Derby's an option, but you would think the Oaks is the grand final. So I think she's a superstar, and she can be a superstar that nearly gets beaten on the weekend.
She's incredible because you're right. It's not only her versatility with distances that has everyone talking. You know, she wins first up over 1,400 metres, second up over a mile. She's won a VRC Oaks. She's got the one Group 1 next to her name, whereas Lady Shenandoah's got the 3 now.
Yeah.
And Autumn Glow.
You think she's the number 1 seed?
Well, I mean, Lady Shenandoah's gone throughout this whole autumn preparation undefeated, and this girl might too, mind you. But she's won 3 Group 1s. Like, that is, sadly, whether you like it or not, that's superior to this filly's record at the moment.
Yeah, but only because the stepping stone Group 1s are available for Lady Shenandoah and they aren't for her. Like,
if this girl wins on the weekend and then goes on to win another Oaks, absolutely.
Okay.
I love her versatility. She's drawn a gate again. Damien Lane is riding so well at the moment. He jumps on board.
What's the go with him? He just sees a Group 1 and I'll have that. I'll have that one as well.
Just such a cool, calm, collected guy too. Like, nothing seems to ruffle him or faze him. He just does his job. Yes, the Sydney way of going, that's not my biggest concern. I don't have many concerns, but that has got to be one. That's not a big box that's been ticked.
Yeah.
And the other one is the potentially heavy track that we find ourselves with on Saturday, which seems more likely than not. The other really interesting horse in the race is Verona Rose, and she would be the story for Gary Portelli and Kieran McAvoy. She's undefeated, and I know that when they bought this filly, they said to the ownership group, we're buying her for an Oaks campaign, and that's exactly how it's panned out so far after winning the Kembla Grange Classic a few weeks ago and then coming to this. The wet ground, I don't think, is going to faze her. So if there is a play where you want to avoid the short price of the favourite, beware the undefeated horse. We said that last weekend with Private Harry. Yes, they're different entities. This one's not going to start favourite, but she's got a huge amount of talent too.
Yeah, I only briefly chatted to James Fathers the other day. He was representing Portelli at the midweeks, which I was at, and I said you must be looking forward to Saturday with a few of the big guns back, and primarily I was thinking NCAP, and he said, yeah, Verona Rose, can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh.
Tells you everything you need to know.
It certainly does.
So, look, either one of those win, it's going to be a great story because you either got Treasure of the Moment, whose record is 9-7-2 at the moment. Like, never finished out of the top 2 in all 9 of her starts. And then Verona Rose, who's undefeated, moving out very, very good in the far lap first up into her Australian preparation as well. And I think being New Zealand bred and running over there on heavy, well, their soft tracks are heavier than our soft tracks. Yeah. She's going to get through the ground too. So they would be the 3 that I would be looking at. But you're right. For me to take $1.60, like everything needs to line up.
There are a few Kiwis over the next couple of weeks that we get to see. Some that have switched to Aussie trainers, but Australian-based trainers anyway. As we keep making our way through, I'm looking ahead to a head-to-head battle. Dubai Honour will be a really interesting bet come Saturday, just to see what price he finishes up. Because you've got Dubai Honour up against Vauban, 2 UK stars, essentially, that come back here looking for more of our prize money. Vauban off the back of a ridiculous first-up win. And Dubai Honour, I feel like we're still asleep at the wheel. I saw $8 available for his grand final, and you're talking, $1.75 about Via. There's not that much of a gap between them,
Izzy Paul this morning, even just hearing from her, who's the travelling foreman for William Haggis, she said, you're going to get better odds when it comes to the Queen Elizabeth. Why not have a play there?
Yeah.
Like, take the $8.
Yeah. $8 is ridiculous.
It is crazy, considering that he's won that race before.
Yeah.
The Australian Cup down at Flemington over the 2,000 metres. And, yes, we do find ourselves in a position where the Tancred and the Australian Cup are run on the same day. This has happened a bit over the last few years. It didn't happen in yesteryear, but it probably diminishes both fields slightly, if I'm being really honest with you all. But pride of Jenny back in a big way. We saw that first up in the Peter Young over the 1,800 metres a couple of weeks ago. She's going to have competition, though, because the tactics of deny knowledge are not the same, but they're similar. And they've almost shown their hand, so to speak, saying, we're not just going to sit back and let her tear away. Not that I think she would do that.
The last time we heard that was Hippo.
Yeah.
And he brought her undone.
Yeah. Well, this time round, I mean, Deny Knowledge has drawn in gate 3 and Pride of Jenny has drawn in gate 1. So they're both, it's not like you've got the big disparity in the gates. But yes, that will be interesting to see how close they do get to her in the run, whether they're obviously happy to cut up the rest of the field. That's her pattern anyway. Feroce's fascinating. At his 10th start, he's already a Group 1 winner. This gelded son of Super Seth. He steps up to the big boys and the big girls this time around in this contest. And Zardozi as well. 4th up, loves Flemington. Is she building to something?
It's hard to see her turning the tables, but circumstances are different, as you said. If Pride of Jenny doesn't get things all her own way, which I still feel like she will, Zardozi might be the one that's able to capitalise. Do you see Feroce in that class? I don't yet. No. I think he's a very good horse, and I think Dom Sutton's a very good young trainer, and we love seeing trainers get their first Group 1 like he did in the Australian Guineas, but like this is a crack field. Like you got to be the best of the best as a 3-year-old to be able to bring it to these big boys and girls, as I mentioned. Even a Tissue, like she absolutely adores Flemington. She's 3rd up. She gets to a trip that suits. If they get some rain, which I think they are forecast to get in Melbourne as well, like that's not going to worry her. What do you like in the feature in Sydney in the Tancred? Would you be with the Dubai Honour?
Oh yes, the big whisper is for River of Stars though.
Oh,
the male is big time.
Right, that won't be me. I've
Really?
got Dubai Honour and La Creek, and you can only back so many.
The Whispers out of Canterbury, and we love, we can't go and watch them work there, and you can only pick up little bits and pieces from quarantine. But there's been a number of people say that this mare by Sea the Stars.
You can go and watch them work, by the way.
Oh,
Just got to be up early, Em.
You got to go.
Stop running.
You gotta
Stop
go.
falling over. And
Yeah.
go.
Hey, I'm healed.
Yeah. Quick, actually.
She's first up into her preparation, and she has got first up form. And maybe this is not her race, but she's the big watch.
Okay.
She's the big watch
There's
in the
smoke.
race. Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of smoke there. And Arapaho as well. Do you think he's in the class?
I don't think
He's
so.
a Group 1 winner. He won this a few years ago.
I know, but I don't have him there.
You don't?
I really
if it
rate...
buckets down, I reckon he's the play.
Do you?
Yes.
There's a lot of wetties in there, though. So It's not like he's the standalone.
I feel like he's one horse we're guilty of doing it all so often. Like, he's a Group 1 winner, but people probably think, oh, is he a Group 1 horse?
I'm fine with that.
Are you?
Yeah.
I love him.
Well,
Honest as the day is long.
I agree with that. I thought he might go a little closer last start. Why did Lindemann bounce back and run well again?
Yeah.
We knew that everyone had jumped off.
We wanted to be left out of that.
That's real jerk behaviour.
That was a
Lindemann.
mistake.
Yeah. All right.
Or one final piece for the agenda today.
Yeah. Oh, I know what this will be.
The biggest talking point in racing in the next 7 days is going to be the vote regarding Rosehill Gardens and whether members of the ATC will vote yes or no to sell this massive piece of land to the New South Wales government and reap $5 billion or more to either build a replacement track, to upgrade other tracks and to update members' facilities, but also to future-proof the industry. I mean, they're the points that we're talking about, what that huge amount of cash would do. It's hard to get into the ins and outs of this discussion because it's heated on both sides. But do you think the vote will get up?
I don't think it will, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's my opinion. My opinion on the vote itself is that I don't like how it's been done on both sides, in fairness. I don't like there is high detail information on some fronts and there's a significant lack of detail on other fronts. I don't like being asked to vote when I don't know where an alternate venue may be or whether there will be an alternate venue. So to say, should we give up Rosehill? Okay, so where are we going instead? Oh, we don't know yet. Well, how can I vote? How can you honestly ask people to vote on that? So then maybe the argument is, well, do we even need an alternate venue? Do up the other two. And I get that figures have been thrown out there, but if you don't have an alternate venue, how can you establish that it might be 1.9 million to build a new track with training facilities and redo the other two? That is an absolute guess. You don't have the other venue.
I guess I can see both sides to this, but with the alternate venue discussion, I mean, this has to go to a vote from the ATC members. It's not like they could go and do a deal on an alternate piece of land before this vote has happened.
But you could have an option, couldn't you?
Well, they do have options, but they are saying, the ATC and those involved with putting this proposal together, they can't show their hand, so to speak, because they're in negotiations with the landowners.
So could you say we'll give you a second opportunity as members? So give us the vote to go ahead with pursuing it, but then when we find the venue, we'll have another vote to establish whether you want to go there at all. And I feel as though it will be a yes, pursue it, no, we don't want to go there, is how I think it would play out.
It feels like it's chicken-egg scenario.
It's putting a lot of trust in our administrators, which I do have trust in them, but it's putting a lot of trust in administrators to get this absolutely right. And I don't like the costings. I'm seeing a $5 billion figure, but there's every chance you're going to spend four and a half getting a new venue, doing up Warwick Farm, doing up Canterbury, and then where are we at? We've lost Rosehill. We've ended up at God knows where. I actually haven't formulated an opinion either way yet, but I just don't like how it's been presented.
No. And on the other side of it, I can see both sides of it, and I'm as a member, I'm trying, I think everyone is trying to understand the pros and cons of yes, but also the pros and cons of no, because that's a thing as well. Like, you can talk about the pros and cons of a yes and what that means for the industry, but also saying no, what does that mean for the industry as well? Because there is a lack of cash and there is a lack of understanding as to where the funding comes from probably beyond the next 20 years, right? So I don't like that on both sides of the argument. I have been bombarded, and in not a nice way.
Yeah, there's a lot of agenda pushing, and unfortunately in racing and most sports, people are representing their own self-interests, whereas we need, and I hope this is what the board will do off the back of the vote. We need them to have the greater interest at heart. So we watch with bated breath.
That will happen next.
For the vote.
The
Which way do you think the vote will go?
I think the vote will end up going no, but whether that's the right decision or not, I'm still unsure.
Yeah.
But that's also based on the fact that the no sector of this discussion have been much more vocal than the yes sector. And there is a yes sector. There has to be.
I'm from Adelaide. We say no to every hint of progress. We said no to putting lights at Adelaide Oval, no to the development at Adelaide Oval, and now everyone goes, how good's Adelaide Oval?
Yeah.
Like, we are as reserved as it gets as a people. So I understand the natural course would be say no and convince me. And that's where I'm probably sitting.
Everyone just play nice and play fair.
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us on So We Think. We'll see you next week.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.